Welcome back, welcome back. Thank you, Longboat Key Club, for that amazing lunch. You really did hit that out of the park. It was so good, so good. Hey, look at you with your fangirl. Oh, you're so fanboy. She's got a fan sofa. Listen, pull out your yes/no cards. I want to give everyone this is like resonating so much. It has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about. Sorry, you don't have yes/no cards. You can nod or shake or whatever. Who feels like they have less inquiries or leads coming in for the end of next year and early 2025? Yes or no? Yes? No? Who feels like leads and inquiries are down? Really? It's a good mix, guys. It's a good mix. Okay, so I want to let everyone know, because I feel like a lot of people are afraid to, like half of you didn't even raise your cards. In general, they are down, but I don't think anyone needs to be screaming for the hills, because it's all going to catch up. So I just wanted you to feel that sense of community that everyone's kind of in this, but all of us have been in this for a minute. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. It's just quiet for a minute. Okay, so I'm so excited. Are you guys excited? Look at these cutie pies. Okay, so I'm going to introduce each of them individually, and I'm going to ask them a question that is going to be fun. So first we have Shannon, who's sitting in the center, and she's on a mission to help event pros learn a proven system for success. She's a professional go-getter. She is a no BS speaker. She shares her industry wisdom while running her own business, The Wedding Venue Map, and as the co-host on her podcast, The Wedding Sassholes. Have y'all listened to this? It is so Shannon. Shannon tells it like it is. You guys know this, whether you're ready for it or not. Shannon, can you reveal a memorable oops moment that taught you a valuable lesson and maybe brought a few chuckles along the way?
There's been lots of oops moments throughout my career, but probably my most favorite story would be while working at a resort. I had the pleasure of having a marketing team, which as a small business, you don't always have behind you, but our director of marketing was a 65-year-old white gentleman who really likes to tell me that he knew more about talking to brides and couples than I did. And so we were in a marketing meeting, and we were having a heated conversation in which I don't back down. If you've met like a dog with a bone when I know I'm right? So, and in that moment, it was me, him, the marketing team, and the general manager of the resort, and he looked at me and he's like, well, somebody's got her period.
And the crowd went, oh.
And this was like 10 years ago. Yeah, no, it's not okay to say that, right? It was a family-owned hotel. In general, the conversations were a little bit more relaxed. And in no hesitation, I said, if I had a dick, would you say that to me? And was like, oh, Shannon. Like, while what he said was inappropriate, you could have tried.
Shannon always steps it up.
Yeah, I just took it to a whole nother level, and my immediate reaction was to look at the GM, because he was my boss, and be like, and he laughed so hard he fell out of the chair. And he was like, well, she told you. And so I think it was such a great lesson of like standing up for yourself, and when you know you're right, and in whether you work for someone else or you have people who work for you, really listening to them and not devaluing them in a way, but also standing up for myself. Because guess what? I won the fight. I got what I wanted. We redesigned the ad, and I didn't get fired or written up. Booyah.
Such a good story. Thank you for sharing that, Shannon. And then at the end of the stage is Brittany Egan's, which everyone I feel like knows here, like everybody. She's a wedding and event planner and designer that was born and raised on the Sun Coast, specifically in Sarasota. She's married to her high school sweetheart of 16 years, has 3 very active boys, and 3 more, she's got 3
I totally
dogs.
wrote that wrong, y'all.
Brittany has been in the wedding and event industry for over 13 years. She has owned BWed for almost a decade. She's a passion for people, which includes her family, friends, frienders, and clients, which we all feel that. Brittany is a business-minded, forward-focused boss lady, and that's what her team refers to her as. And she's established her brand by leaving legacy and leading the way. What is your oops story?
All right, y'all. I'm really embarrassed, and I'm gonna just make sure that you all know that literally my manager and my little power squad over here has fan club is the one that put me up to telling you all this. So I'm really excited to do this in front of the whole room. So we had a older client couple this past season, and they were just the most lovely, polished humans you've ever met in your life. And I get a frantic phone call from the bride the week of their wedding that her son will not fly down and is having issues getting down here. And she goes on this long rambling story to which I am completely oblivious to what she's trying to get at for this story, thinking that he needed help with travel arrangements or something. Come to find out, when she gets to the point of it, she goes, he just has trouble traveling and he has anxiety and I need to get him here and he won't come if he doesn't have anything. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He wanted pot. And apparently it was my job as their wedding planner to make that happen, which, if anyone knows me, my husband of 16 years that I've been with since I was 18 literally is a sheriff's deputy as well. So I passed her on to one of my lovely partners in crime that maybe would have a lead for her, and got her to the people that needed to do things, and the sun came and I knew nothing more after that. So
That's why networking's important.
That is a great story. And then right next to me is Sophie Robinson. She's a planner turned virtual assistant. I need to talk to you later. With a decade of experience in the wedding and events world. She has managed resort events, corporate team buildings, weddings, poolside family trivia, conferences, and trade shows. After moving to Tampa, she changed careers for a very short 2 years. I dropped off those words, forgive me. Okay. Realized she needed to be back in the wedding space, and she started her virtual assistant business for wedding pros. Now she helps wedding pros say I do to ditching the overwhelm by joining their teams, managing the back end of business, and up-leveling their client experience. Let's hear what you have to say.
Again, so many oops moments. I'm sure everybody in the room is like thinking of what their oops moment was. Mine took place while I was at a resort, working for a resort up on Amelia Island. And that position, I lovingly referred to myself as the on-land cruise director. All of the holiday events, the big holiday weekends, the family events, the corporate team building where they want all of their conference attendees to shake things up and kind of loosen up for the day. You name it, I did it there, most of the time with the Britney Spears mic on. And we were in the middle of a 10-day run for 4th of July. 4th of July was on a Wednesday, so we had 2 sold-out weekends, and we were doing 10 days of activities all week long and supporting my team of 30 high school and college kids. I was down on the beach hosting a pie eating contest. So we were towards the end of the pie eating contest. We did the kids, each of the age ranks. Now it was the adults' time, and this 78-year-old lady was all in on this pie eating contest. So she's down there with all like the buff 40-year-old dads, and she was giving them a run for their money. So she was on her very last bite, was about to win the competition. She stands up or sits up, and the last bite gets lodged in the back of her throat. In July heat on the beach. So I turned to my team who's hosting the competition, and they are all, we've heard fight or flight, they are all flight. They are all panicked. There is no instinct that kicks in. And so luckily, as the manager, I jumped in. You call 911. You go get water bottles from the beach team. You go find my boss and tell him what is happening right now. You call security. And I went over to this teeny tiny, cute as a button, 78-year-old lady and started the back blows and the Heimlich maneuver. And I am only 5'1", so luckily she was close to my height as well. So in that moment, that was definitely an oops moment, because we're just trying to host fun on the 4th of July, and this lady is near death eating a pie in a pie eating contest, which she won, by the way. So I give her the Heimlich. I'm giving orders to my team. She, as soon as she could breathe again, was like, "That was great. That was amazing. Oh my gosh, did I win?"
Do I win?
Yes, you won, and I think I'm having a heart attack.
That was scary,
Yeah.
but also funny.
Yeah.
78 years old. What kind of pie was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected you to.
Yeah.
So, everyone, the reason that I wanted to ask them these questions is so that you would feel like, okay, they're people just like us, because they are. They were all in your shoes at one point. I know. Actually, let's use the cards one more time. Who here already has employees? Yes, if you have them. So maybe, what do you think, like 20% of the room? So we're talking to you, but mostly everyone else, but you're going to hear things. So I want to let you know where my employee status is. I just hired my very first employee September 20th, 1 week before the hurricane demolished everything where I live. And so I'm like at the very beginning stages of all this. These ladies have been into it for a little bit longer, so you really are getting some people who can really tell you from the ground up, what you can expect. And I'm hopeful that we get through this and we can allow you guys to answer or ask some more questions later on. I'm going to start by asking Shannon a question. Shannon, where do you begin in creating a company culture when you go from one to many?
This is the hardest part, because if you don't start, I didn't do this. So let's start there. I just was like, holy shit, I'm buried and I need help, right? How many people feel that? You're like, oh God, I just need help. And so you hire. You just start to make the move. And I didn't stop at any point before the first hire or the second or the third. I didn't stop at any point to think about what the company culture would look like with multiple people, because we were like an avalanche barreling downhill, full speed. The company was growing so fast. And so I think you really need to take a minute to stop and think, what kind of boss do I want to be? How can I show up for my team? Even if it's a part-time admin virtual assistant, you need to stop first and start to think about, what does it look like when it's more than just me? I'm a doer. I'm a put my head down and get shit done. And I can delegate. That's not the issue. But making sure that I do weekly meetings and check-in and alignment meetings once a quarter, and we set KPIs and all of these things that I didn't do that with the first one. The first one was a Facebook group post being like, I need help. Does anybody want to work? And I hired Kate for 5 hours a week. And I was like, I don't even know what you're going to do, but we'll figure it out together on the journey of wedding venue map, right? It was a hot mess. So I think that if I was helping someone today, I would be to really think and be like, how do I want people to feel when they work here? Thinking, where are the best places I've ever worked? And what did I love about being there? What was the culture and the environment like? And how can I do that, whether my whole team's remote or working events where you work in high pressure world? So thinking, what do I want the culture of my company to look like?
That is a great answer. I appreciate it. Why didn't anyone tell me that beforehand?
Sorry.
Only you're behind. Okay, so this is one of the questions that we got off of Instagram when these ladies did the nice little videos asking, do you guys have any questions? And I'd like for all of you to chime in on this, if that's okay. How do you know when it's time to bring someone in, to actually make someone an employee versus taking on maybe a subcontractor or VA or something like that?
I think Shannon just answered that a little bit. When you're drowning, when you just need the extra hands, everyone comes to a point in their business where they're like, okay, I've been able to handle it this far, this long, but everyone has their limits and their caps. And I think that when you get to that point, instead of experiencing that burnout level, the next best thing to do is to bring in a team and develop those things. And obviously developing what Shannon just mentioned and having a mentality going into it and making sure that you have your mission statements and kind of things in order is a huge help to that as well.
I'm going to do a fast answer. If you're asking yourself the question, is it time for me to hire? You're already 6 months too late. You should, if you are literally thinking, should I hire somebody? 6 months ago, you should have started the process. So that's the easy, everybody I've said it to is like, you're probably right. So it's the easiest thing to kind of say it's time.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. That was right out of the words of my mouth, before you're overwhelmed. As a virtual assistant and a independent contractor, a lot of people think that they need to wait until they can hire a full-time employee, or that they have enough work for a full-time employee, and by the time that they come across my path or other virtual assistants that I know in the field, they're to the point of drowning. And we want to help you, but you're drowning. And so now we're an extra task list item for you to come up with things to give to us. And so if you can get ahead of that and you're starting to ask yourself the question, you can start to come up with those tasks that you want to outsource and how you can bring someone in, even if it's a virtual assistant or a part-time employee or someone with just a few hours a week. You're not adding task lists to your to-do list when you are in the peak of season and drowning and not even seeing your family or eating dinner every night.
I'm going to chime in. I have a different perspective. I saw money like flying out the door. And I was like, I'm giving so many weddings away. I'm saying no so often. Why am I doing that? And you know when that was? It was at Swell, the summer summit last year, that Brandy Garr was up here. And she was talking about profit and having employees and building her business. And that's what Alan was saying about profit, profit, profit. And I was like, I could have more profit if I could do more of me. So then I was like, okay, Brandy has had many people. I'm going to call her, and I hired her. She coached me through, like, how to have an employee. So, tip, you can hire someone to help you. Let's go to Brittany. Brittany, I'm going to ask you a question. What does expanding a team look like financially?
So that whole avalanche situation, it's real. So in my experience, I was petrified to bring on anyone because it was just me for the longest time. I was responsible for me. I did however many weddings I could handle, and if I couldn't handle them, I couldn't handle them, but at least I knew monetarily no one else was counting on me. And so bringing on a team in financial benefit is amazing because you are able to accomplish more, which is awesome, but also it's super stressful because you have someone else counting on that income that you're now providing them. And a lot of sole proprietors in here, I'm sure, would probably be able to agree with that. So for me specifically, I was a crazy person, and even though it was rough, I stashed enough aside to pay someone else's income for a complete year before I even thought about bringing them on. And that kind of made it that avalanche situation where it was like 6 months too late because I was trying to make sure that financially you're ready. So you have to be able to find that happy in between and prepare for that to make sure that you have that put aside if someone else is counting on you.
Can I jump in?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that.
I did that because I tried to be responsible,
it's fine,
Shannon.
It's fine. I mean,
But that's why this is a panel.
it is. I opted to not be fiscally responsible. I opted to say, fuck it, that's what credit cards are for. So instead of, I've never carried a credit card balance in the history of my life more than 60 days. I was like, I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm just gonna let that interest live there instead of taking out a loan and dealing with all that. I'm gonna just not pay that bill to make sure, because I knew how much money would be coming in. But I started so small. Like I hired one person for 5 hours a week for $18 an hour. That's all it was. So I was like, $100 a week. Like, you can do it, Shannon. It's $100. I could just not eat out twice and have the extra money for that person, and I needed the help. And so I think that is, I don't worry about money like that because sales is my jam. So when I'm like, shit, I need money, I just cold call a shitload and I sell some stuff. So like all of a sudden there's money in the bank account because sales is what I do best. So I don't look at money in that way, but I think that if you are someone who's like, I won't be able to sleep at night carrying somebody's money, do her plan. But I also think that there's financial out there. There are small business loans. There are, if you're like, I need full time, there's money out there that you can go get. There's grants. I got a $15,000 business grant last year. Like, there's money out there for you to, if you hire all women, if you're hiring minorities, like there's money out. There's free government money sitting out there. So don't hesitate too much. Like, I'll push you off the cliff.
So don't be
time.
stupid like I was and wait
It's
too
not
long to where you're about to burn yourself out.
It's not stupid. It's fiscally responsible. I'm not that.
Sophie, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? You're
They
good?
covered it.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to one of our internet questions. I would like everyone to chime in on this. How do you pre-screen candidates before an interview, and what are the best questions to ask a candidate during an interview?
So like I mentioned earlier, my background is in resorts, especially when I was in the recreation realm. I had to hire a new team every single summer to carry me through the summer, most of them being high school and college kids. So you can imagine what my interviews were like. Now, being in the wedding space, growing my team as a virtual assistant, I think it is so important, yes, to look at experience in the role that you are wanting to bring them on, but also look at the growth that you could build them as a part of your team. We're talking about culture up here, and that is equally important. So there could be someone with 10 years experience, there could be someone with 2 years experience, but if that person with 2 years has that spark or has that personality trait that you're going to love working with, that you're going to love mentoring, you're equally looking for that. So my interview questions were half towards the job. Can you do the basic functions, or can I at least teach you on site what I'm looking for? But the other half are personality based. Tell me about, are you also a Tina Turner fan? Like what are those things that we have in common where I'm excited to work with you too, even during the slow season or during the training period.
You good? You guys have anything else?
I don't know how I could top that. That was really decisive. It's a feeling, I guess. For planners, it's a little bit different. I think for, maybe photographers, if somebody has a lot of talent with a camera and you can kind of teach them some of the things, but for planning, you have to have such a heart for people and such a servant's heart for that. And so I think that the girls that I've gravitated to and to the people that have been part of our team, specifically at BWED, has had that heart. And I see that first and foremost because some of the logistics, some of the things you can teach, right? But the things that you can't teach are who you are as a human. So as an employer now, that's the first and foremost that I look for. And in doing that, it makes, I guess, my hiring methods a little unconventional because it's not just a standard interview process and it's not that rigid. It's definitely a different experience with that in our team for sure.
Okay, great.
Wait,
so,
I have one good
one.
one.
Okay,
so
good.
I'm just a
We'll
little,
take
I'm
them
a little
all.
more process based. So what I would say is in terms of qualifying people, I write a bomb-ass job description. Step 1, if you don't know how to do it, ChatGPT will do it for you, right? So it just wrote the best job description I've ever seen in my life for the person I'm about to hire. So a bomb-ass job description, clear, fun personality, not here's your tasks. Don't do that shit. We work in a fun industry. So a really good job description. I post the job everywhere, including Indeed, for part-time, 10-hour week, I don't care. I post it everywhere. Social media, LinkedIn, Indeed. I hoard out to my whole email list. I send it to everyone I've ever met in my life and say, do you know someone? I'm also really clear about specifics of who I'm hiring, meaning I'll say I'm looking for a mom who has kids in school, who's only looking to work from 10 to 2, 5 days a week, has strength with computer skills. If you know who it is you're hiring and you've made that persona, be really clear. It makes it very easy when you're super clear on the front side to be able to not get 9 million candidates that suck on the other side because they know. They know. You have to have kids who are in school. I love people with babies. I just don't love people who have babies working for me. That's against the law to do that, and if I figure out you have a baby, I'm not hiring you anyways. I can't ask the question. I've never asked it in my lifetime, but I can figure it out just recruiting really specifically. So recruit differently, write your job descriptions differently will help in terms of qualifying people.
Clearly, we have really different styles of doing about this. You guys get both ends of the coin
nice.
Two
today.
extremes.
I think she hires the kid, and I'm roar! I'm paying you a shitload of money,
But this is why panels are so good because you want to hear all the different ways. I agree with everything. Okay. So, Sophie, there's a really good question that I want to, and I think that if everyone can chime in. When starting the process of hiring and planning to grow, do you need to have every puzzle piece in place? Standard operating procedures, also known as SOPs, training documents, exact tasks to delegate, so on and so forth. Do you have to be done and ready to roll when you make your first hires?
If you wait until you have all of those pieces in place, you've probably waited too long. And spoiler alert, they're going to continue to change even after you hire. So from my seat as a virtual assistant in the wedding space, a lot of times I get on the inquiry call, we sign on, we do the whole onboarding. I am the first person that many of my clients have hired and brought onto their team, just as a virtual assistant, whether I'm answering emails or sending out contracts and invoices. But they're learning with me what tasks they enjoy delegating. On the inquiry call, they may say, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. We start working together 2 months in, they're like, I really miss doing that X, Y, and Z. Can you do this over here instead? Because I really want to do that. You figure it out together. It is important if you are hiring, whether it's an independent contractor, an employer or employee, full-time, part-time, just a few hours a week, like Shannon was saying, you don't need to have all of the SOPs and training materials in place, but you do need to be a good client to your new person on your team. You need to be able to delegate and release it, and then you can learn together and have conversations about, that's not how I quite would have done it. Let me go write that in a document somewhere so they do it the right way I would next time. In the wedding space, especially talking to my planners, we love to plan, we love to control the details. It's really hard to release that to someone new. They're like, I met you on a Zoom call and I'm paying you money, but beyond that, like, can I trust you to write a draft of my timeline? Can I trust you to email that bride back the way that I would email them back? So you're gonna figure those things out together. But if you wait until you perfectly type every single process in your entire business to bring someone on, you may change it all 2 months in once they start with you.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Brittany?
And literally, my girls, so I have my admin and my manager here today, and literally they're giggling on the front over here because no processes, like no idea what the heck to do. And so literally, Dana's gonna really laugh at this one because she's my admin. She goes, okay, so what do I do for this and this? And I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna shadow me so that you can figure it out, and you're gonna write the processes on what you're supposed to do, because I don't know, and I don't know how to explain it to you. I just do it. So literally exactly what Sophie said. No, you're never gonna be ready. There's never enough regiment in the world to be able to be ready to grow a team, and it's always in flex and fluid to be able to make sure that everyone's filling the needs that are there for your business in general.
I 100% agree when you're hiring new people the first time. But for those in the room who already have people on your team and who already have big teams and are hiring for the next position, I think you need to be very careful. This next generation in the 25 to 35 age range is not walking into a shit show. They won't stay. So I have walked into 40 shit shows of jobs and figured it out and wrote the SOPs and wrote the binders that you will not be able to keep the next generation employed with you if they walk in and you don't have a plan. So you might not have every SOP ready, all your how-tos written, but you really need to make sure that you have a solid training plan and an organized, even if they're gonna write the SOPs as you train them, you can't walk in and be like, we'll figure it out. It doesn't work. I've hired 4 who didn't make it 6 months, and it was my fault because I wasn't ready. I didn't have my shit together. They sensed it, they felt it, and we're like, this isn't the kind of company I want to work. I love that about the next generation, is that they're like, no, I won't stand for it. And I hate that about them also. I love it and I hate it, but I think I definitely agree 100%, especially as like you're getting started with things.
A baseline,
but like,
yeah.
Have a baseline training plan to let the new hire create the SOPs for you.
You guys are so awesome. Thank you. This is a big loaded question, and Shannon, I'm going to start with you because you give us loaded answers. Growth doesn't look the same for everyone. How did you go about building a team of 6 part-timers before you went to full-timers?
Oh, yeah. I have a team of 7, and 6 of them are still part-time. So I believe in compartmentalizing people into their strengths instead of trying to get them to do things that are outside of their zone of excellence. So what that means is I have a social media manager, I have an admin, I have an event manager, I have a marketing email manager, I have a web team, I have a salesperson. Like, none of those jobs were more than 5 to 10 hours a week. But guess what? The social media girl, I tried to teach her how to do the webinars. It was a shit show. She didn't know how to do it. So like I stopped trying to continue to hire and put people into a 20 to 30 to 40 hour week job outside of their skill set. My company won't ever need that. And so remembering that like if someone hates social media, don't assign it to them because they already work for you. And they're like, I guess I could try it. They're not going to be great at it, right? So like know that it's okay to compartmentalize your people into their best, which is why I hire moms. Moms love part-time. Stay-at-home moms love part-time. So I have this army of moms who work for me, and they're all exceptional. They all had degrees. They all had full-time jobs before they had kids. And so, but I also think sometimes our industry pushes very hard to tell you to grow. And you need to hire people, and you're a planner. You should have a team of planners because you're losing business. You need 4 planners, 5 planners, 6 planners. Guess what? Managing people blows. It's awful. You have to give your time, your energy, your processes. Like, you have to help them, coach them. I'm like a therapist. Like, it is so much work. And so if you are doing great and you don't feel like you have to grow, but feel like what are those, like you guys were mentioning, what are those specific tasks that you're like, I hate doing this. And I don't want to do this task anymore, and can I hire someone for those 4 or 5 tasks to just start there? So you don't have to do full-timers. I still only have 1, and she just started in May. 1, that's it.
Brittany or Sophie, do you have anything to add to that? Do either of you go from having part-timers to full-timers?
I would just say when you are feeling that pressure, there's a lot of, like Shannon was saying, there's a lot of noise out there of hire, make sure you have a team, whether it's associate photographers or planners. Like, you need to be ready. Not because your coach told you that you're ready, not because the panelists told you that you're ready. Like, you need to be ready for whatever that looks like. So I am growing my team right now. My plan at the beginning of the year was to add more virtual assistants to my team. I'm an independent contractor, so for me that means subcontractors. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that I couldn't take on any more clients. I'm full. I don't have more hours in my day, nor do I want to work through the night. And as soon as I hired a subcontractor under me, I found out I was expecting. So it was like divine timing, but like, dang, I was just getting some good momentum. So we're figuring that out too, and now I'm planning my maternity leave. So when you have life events that pop up, these team members, even if they are part-time subcontractors, contractors, can help you piece together, you know what, I can hand off social media. I can hand off someone doing inquiries. I can hand off someone answering emails, even if it's just a few hours a week. That helps me gain time back. But then as you grow that team, you have more to manage in a different way.
Okay, I'm going to contribute to the panel in this moment. So I want to tell you kind of my story. I suffered from burnout 2 times, and on the second time I realized that's when I needed to get help. And I started by going the way of getting a VA. So I started with that, and that was something that I could do that like felt it was part-time. And she's still with me. This VA that I have right now, it's been like 4 years, and she's amazing. And we built her up slowly, just kept on adding hours, and now she could probably run my business for me in her sleep, but I still have her at 10 hours. It was almost 3 years later that I realized I wanted someone full-time. So I would like to say it really is okay to full out with just have the intention of having someone part-time and not feeling like you need to even consider full-time until it just all of a sudden seems very apparent to you, or you want to change your business. And our businesses do evolve. You know, these days we all have different points of revenue, if you're smart about that kind of thing. And so you know that you can start in one place and not have any idea what's going to happen 6 months, a year down the road. And that's totally okay. You're off the hook. Let's see. Talked about financially. VAs. Let's talk about the VA thing. Yeah. Who here has a VA? Yes or no?
4.
Cards. 4? Cards up. VA? Who has VAs? Looks like almost very few. Very few. Oh, Sophie. So, does everyone know what a VA is? Okay, we have some no's. I'm glad this came up. Okay, if you can, go ahead and explain, Sophie, what a VA is so everyone understands. Because I feel like that's sometimes how everyone starts with, like, bringing on employees, like for me.
Yeah, I can give a quick background because I too did not know what a VA or a virtual assistant was. And it's still very up and coming. It's probably in our industry, especially 5 years ago, what can I hand someone on the internet to do in my business? Yeah, so my background's in weddings and events. My husband's job brought us to Tampa. I decided I would switch careers to teach elementary school for the one day that I have a family, and that was not the move.
But why?
That was not the move. I missed the wedding world too much, and so I started teaching Monday through Friday, but reaching out to local planners so I could get back into the wedding world. And when I did that, I realized the back end of the business a lot of time is what bogs us down. The emails, the contracts, especially in the 2020 coming out of that, I mean, just the peak that we've been living in the last few years, how much money are we losing? Because like we heard earlier, brides don't like us ghosting them or not getting back to them quick enough. And when we're on site doing Friday weddings, Saturday weddings, Sunday events, who is responding to the emails while we're out? So I started doing back-end tasks in these planners' businesses on the side, again, still teaching, and realized, I think I found something here. I enjoy it. I can use my wedding experience, and I can help support these businesses so they can continue to stay busy as we come out of this COVID boom. And so it started with answering emails or sending out contracts and invoices to brides who are ready to sign, but that's a whole process. You have to sit down, you have to send that out, whether you're using a client relation management tool, CRM, or if you're doing it from your Google folder, it's still a process to do. So I started taking on some of those tasks slowly and surely, and then I launched my VA business while I was still teaching. And it hit the ground running because we need help, and it spread like wildfire. I specifically only work with wedding professionals because that's my background and that's what I love. But there are virtual assistants for everything, and that's what I've learned being in the VA world. There are podcast manager VAs. There are video editing VAs. There are VAs who just do social media and can design graphics for you. I mean, you think of a task in your business that you don't enjoy doing, and then put virtual assistant after that word in the Google bar, you will find someone on the internet. So virtual assisting has definitely taken off in many different fields. I just chose weddings because that's what I know and love. But it's been really fun for me to see on the other side as a business owner all the tasks that different clients need help with. Some of them love doing social media and they just want me to answer emails. Some of them love being in their email inbox and talking to their brides and potential brides, but they're like, absolutely not, I don't want to do contracts. Can you just send over the paperwork? So it's really customized to what you want, and like Kelly was saying, that's a great way for a lot of people to start, just handing over tasks.
It's a great entry point into the world of bringing on employees. I wanted, because you're all in like 3 very different categories from my perspective, and I was hoping that you could explain kind of where how you guys structure your employees in your businesses.
Like legally?
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, are they employees versus contracted versus...
Yes,
okay,
exactly that.
As opposed
exactly
to
that.
illegally? What? I mean, what? I don't know where we're going with that.
Oh, I guess I'll go. I'm fully illegal. No, I'm just kidding. So everybody who gets hired with our company gets the choice. Do you want to be a contractor or do you want to be an employee? There are a lot of tax benefits for people who are contractors. There's flexibility. I follow I've sat down with 4 lawyers, 6 tax accountants. I follow every damn rule, but there's a lot of rules when people are contractors, meaning I can't set their hours, I can't set their time, they work whenever they want. Like, it is a whole different ball game when they are contractors, right? So you can't say to somebody, you can be a subcontractor and be a 1099, and you have to be there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Doesn't work, can't do it, against the law, that's an employee. So everybody who comes into our team, we give them the choice. I have 5 contractors and 2 employees by their choice, and Well, obviously the full-timer is an employee because I rein that sales girl in. I'd be choking her. So I needed control in that avenue. Like I needed control over sales, and control comes from employees. As an employer, you do not have that level of control when people are subcontractors. So if you can set it up whichever way you choose to, with my subcontractors, I'll actually make more because they have to pay their own taxes, versus the employees make less, like hourly in the same, because I have to pay all the taxes. So there's a lot of ways to consider it. The most important is to make sure you're following the law. Because if you start to grow and you start to have all these people and the IRS starts to see all these people listing you as, and they're like, why are these people all contractors? And this company doesn't have any employees, and you can get audited. So just make sure whichever way you decide to go, you get the knowledge and learn from an employment attorney, a tax specialist, so that you're following the rules that go along with that. That's my suggestion.
Shannon, are they paid hourly or salaried?
Oh, hourly? Ooh, so messed up. I'm a disaster. Some are hourly, based upon what they do. Some are project-based, meaning there is a checklist of things that have to get executed every month, and they get a flat fee for it. So if they're focused and fast and they get it done in less time, they win. They watch The Real Housewives for 6 hours while they work on it, and it takes them twice as long, I win, right? It doesn't make a difference. So I have task-based people, I have hourly people, and then my full-timer is, she's salaried plus commission because she's in sales.
Brittany, same question.
I don't even honestly know if I remember the question now that Shannon just went
It
on
was,
that whole thing.
how are your structure set up for you? Because you have six planners you have under you?
No, so structure for us. So I'm going to take it a little bit different than like the legal aspect, I guess, and just how like we have our team. So I have the girls that work in the office with me for mostly part-time, and we've started extremely small, like we've been talking about, and then kind of worked up hours, worked up days, worked up all of that. And then the way that I personally have it structured is that I have leads and assistants. So like my leads are also my office people, so that they're looped in mentally as much as possible and can have a good grip on what's happening with all of our different clients. Our assistants are just on an as needed basis. So again, we're kind of structured within, that kind of, some are salary, some are hourly, just depending on what role they're playing within the business.
Sophie?
Yeah, this has been a huge learning curve for me, being on the other side of it as an independent contractor. I was always an employee, like live, breathe the mission statement. You asked me the power of ones at Omni, I know all of them, like employee, die hard. And then starting my own business as an independent contractor, there were a lot of red flags that I didn't know the difference between an independent contractor and employee. So some of my very first clients that hired me were dictating hours, or they had really quick expectations for turnaround time on task. Hey, this bride contacted me, can you get this to me by the end of the day? And I'm a people pleaser, true Enneagram 3, so I'm like, absolutely. Now that I am full-time and I'm balancing different planners, different photographers, they all have task lists that I'm doing or my team member Sarah's doing. We can't promise a quick turnaround time. I have client calls. I have things that, my three clients are all asking me to do. So I had to learn those differences so that I could coach them through that in our inquiry call from the very beginning. Or with those clients, we learned together. And I said, did you know that, the difference between the contractor and employee here is we need to have a conversation about time and your expectations of me. And if you are really needing that quick turnaround or something at the drop of the hat, that may be a sign that you're ready for an employee, even if it's a part-time employee. So being on the side where I needed to kind of coach through that, there's a lot, like Shannon was saying, to know the difference so that you're protected, and also so you're treating your employees or your contractors the way that they should be treated with task lists and different things.
And I'm going to give my story because I think I might be very different from all of you. Well, maybe not. So my VA is a subcontractor, and her hours flex, but she's been with me for 4 years, like I said, and she's almost more like an online business manager. Yeah. And I think another thing we want to or should touch on is that you don't have to have employees that are like sitting in an office with you.
Everybody on my team is remote.
Everyone
100%.
on my team is remote as well. Brittany, you guys all are in office?
We're a little bit of both. So we do hybrid.
Okay.
And again, it just depends on a lot of, we have kids and summertime and all the things. So
Yes.
it's a hybrid. We have an office so that we can meet people and do things as needed, but most of the time it is remote.
Yeah, so my VA is in Michigan. She's like not even near here. But my clients would never guess it. And she's remote. I don't choose her hours. I don't know when she works. Things just show up and they're done. So, but then I started with a full-time salaried employee. I was scared AF. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and you will be too the first time you do it, because it's a big number attached to having an employee who's salaried. And I went into that because I wanted the control that she was talking about. I wanted to know that I was gonna have him for whatever I needed to have him for 40 hours a week. And I could say exactly these times you need to be available. These are the exact tasks that I want you to do. I want you to wear this. As an employee, I have to provide things to him. So it's me paying for all the things. I had to give him a company credit card so he could take clients out to lunch and all those things. So there are a lot of pieces to it, and it is very much the reason I am all for hiring a coach or mentor from the beginning to walk through all of those things for you. Just like what Shannon was saying, that she went to a bookkeeper, an accountant, a security guard, and all of these things. So I would like to say to everyone, it was the best thing I ever did. And I was scared. I was so scared in the beginning. But once I realized after talking to this coach, it was Brandy Garr, who has spoken on the stage at least a few times, like what the options were. And she explained and told me, where to go. Here's a bookkeeper. Kickstart, they're great if you need a bookkeeper. And then, she introduced me to Gusto for payments and, to pay everybody. And it was through that I learned that this is really easier than I thought it could be. And it has been so helpful to my company. So I just want to challenge you, if it's even in a little bit of hesitance, to go through that fear and at least ask the questions to maybe move your company forward.
But be really careful, because half the people in this room are probably doing it wrong. So our industry is really bad about following the legalities of this. There's a hair and makeup company in Orlando who'd be announcing how she does it. I'm like, that shit's against the law. Stop talking about it, the way she's doing it. So just be careful with only going to others, locally that friends, being like, how do you do it? Because just because that's how they do it doesn't mean legally it's the right way. I've just seen a lot of bad advice flying about this topic.
Which is exactly why I said, to your point, the security guard, the sheriff's office, accountant, the bookkeepers, and all the legal counsel, all of those things. Okay, so I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for questions. Jordan, do we have a microphone in case? Because I think we have 15. So we have 15 minutes for questions. I'm sure you guys have a few. Anybody with questions? Okay, right in the center. Jordan's gonna head up. He's putting his jacket on. Doesn't he look so good in his green jacket?
Handsome.
Everyone feel the velvet
He's so
jacket
mad
when
at
he
me
goes
right
by.
now. So, Jordan, I think we had one right here in the center of the room. Woo!
Hello. Is it on? Yeah. I'm Samantha Brown with Samantha Brown Artistry. I am a wedding photographer that also provides hair and makeup services, so I'm also a cosmetologist. I don't know if you care, but when hiring a virtual assistant, so I'm getting to the point now where SEO and social media is just becoming something I just don't have time for anymore. So with the virtual assistant, would I want to do a photographer-based virtual assistant, or would I want to do like you do, where you just do, where it's broad, like weddings and events? Do you guys do SEO type stuff?
That is an excellent question. I would say for something as specific as SEO, especially right now in our world that is constantly changing, that is something where you're wanting a specialist, not necessarily a virtual assistant that can Google how to do SEO and try to figure it out with you. And I think that's one of the perks of virtual assisting or online business managers or these different people. There's some things where if you can help me figure it out, or if you can do the research for me and then bring it to me and recommend programs or whatever, there are times for that. SEO, I always say, go find the specialist, girl. Go find the specialist who knows about it. Yeah.
I have a specialist for you. So when it comes to something like SEO, if it's a one-time overhaul of the site versus the constant regular, pay one person one time to do the whole thing. Sarah does SEO, is the best in the business.
Okay.
I paid her a shitload of money last year, and she overhauled our site in a way. Now that's not what a small business would pay. We're a directory, but I'm ranking in spot 1 on 167 pages that I didn't even exist on before. So hire someone to overhaul it one time, and then have that person teach you so that you can have a VA do it. But I think you just need somebody who's specific to our market, maybe not so much specific to photographer, because Tampa wedding photographer is the same as Tampa wedding hair and makeup is the same as, the rules apply. You just need somebody who understands keywords really strong.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Was there a question in the back? I saw a hand go up. I thought I saw a hand. Or were you just putting a sweater on? She was putting a sweater on.
We have one over
Like,
here.
oh, you got
How's it
one?
going? Oh, that's loud. My name's Matt Dendy. I'm primarily an electric violinist, but another side of our business is photo booths. And we have currently 6 employees. We're probably going to need to grow for upcoming season. But I guess the question I have is, have any of you had to fire anybody? And if so, what's the process for like warnings? All of our employees so far have been great, but we have like little small things like at an event, capture pictures of people using the booth and having fun so we can use it for social media. Is that something that, I mean, it's something that's important to us, but
I mean,
some of the employees take it serious and do a great job, others miss it, or, so it's like, at what point does it get to where like, okay, we've asked you a couple times, it's not happening?
I fire people a lot. That's why Jordan asked me to be on the panel. He's like, I don't know anybody who fires as many people as you.
So it's like, are there any legal
so
ramifications?
You have to start with
to this?
onboarding differently, right? So the beginning of the training from day one is those things aren't effing optional. They're not optional. Like, it's your freaking job. And if you don't do it, you have to hold people accountable for the job you expect them to do. The first time you don't hold them accountable, they'll never do it again. Right? So it's like, just because we're small businesses, the majority, hold them accountable, write them up, set goals. You might want to bonus them. One of the photo booth companies in Orlando, their DJ and photo booth, they actually get bonused if they do 100% of their events for the month. If they get social media footage at every event, they get a bonus at the end of the month. It's like $25. It's not like incredible, but for her, she doesn't have to pay someone to capture social media content at the event. So, but I think it's about having a standard, having like, I don't care if it's a part-time photo booth worker, guys, like treat it like it's a job. Like if we as small businesses kind of treat it like I know you just show up to work the booth like treat it like it's a real job, set them standards, train them through them, hold them accountable for those standards. And so most of the time it's because we failed, because you're letting them not do it and you're not sitting down and having the tough conversations. But if you've set the standard, it's easier to have the conversation and be like, you're not excelling. The other thing I do is I fall on the sword all the time and I make it all my fault. What am I doing? What tools did I not give you? What have I done? Are we not doing enough meetings? I put it all on myself, and you know what they do? They're all like, I'm sorry, I suck, because they know it's them, right? So like, but I don't ever go, I'm like, why isn't it happening? Like, and sometimes they might be like, I don't have time. There was a line of 100 people at the booth, like, and I don't, so it's like learning and understanding the why, but it's really about accountability, coaching and counseling, and like, write them up the first time, write them up doc pay, like put things into their contracts based upon what your expectations are. And if they don't do it, they don't get paid for the event or something like that. And then when they don't meet expectations, you fire them. The amount of people I had one girl, I kept her for 8 months. The cancer that she caused in my company because she wasn't doing her job and everyone else was annoyed by her. And they were all so frustrated. And I was like, I can fix her. I can save it. I promise. Don't we love her? They were like, get this girl out of here. So like keeping those people isn't the best way if they're not executing the job.
Thank you.
That goes right back to that company culture thing.
Yeah, but you got to set the culture. You got to onboard them right and train them differently.
Any other questions out in the audience? I think we've got one. Sorry, Jordan, run. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Dylan, we got you next.
Hey, I'm Christy with Weber Scenic. We're an event decor kind of rental company. We do lighting, draping, custom events. My question is, when we bring in our employees, a lot of them we need for the weekends, but we don't necessarily have anything for them to keep busy during the week. And so we have salaried and hourly employees within our company because we were trying to capture them to make sure we had them through slow seasons and then also maintain and retain through the summers and slow seasons for the upcoming seasons. My question is, how do you know, like, salary rates when you bring somebody in, how do you project that through the ebbs and flows of seasons so that you can retain through seasons and not have to rehire every year, but have a constant, steady staff?
So that's give and take, right? So salary employee, like we said earlier, Shannon said, I have salary employees. So whether they work while they're watching Desperate Housewives and it takes them 12 hours, whether it takes them 2 hours, that's what they get paid. So I think it kind of the same thing follows suit into seasons. And that's kind of at least how I look at it is, okay, so you're retaining these people. They are on a salary. Yes, they're going to work their butts off harder during season. There's going to be more hours, but also during that summertime, there's the lull. So it all kind of evens out, if that makes sense. Is that address the question? Sorry, I want to make sure.
Yeah, yes and no. I kind of want to know too, like, where do you find like an industry standard on what like a rate of pay might be for those types of employees
There isn't any.
for retention?
There's no industry standard for anything we do across the board. It's all a game today. Is a game of how much do people want to make.
Right.
Because Wawa pays $17 an hour. Buc-ee's pays $23 an hour. So like, it's a game, right? Like, do people want to do, and have you built a culture that they will never leave? Have you built an environment that they're like, I don't ever want to leave this company? How are you giving back? We do like nights out, escape rooms. I do so much culture building. We had like a drag queen come on to a Zoom to teach us how to make cocktails during COVID. Like, I was doing whatever I can to keep them. I take them to conferences and education. Like, you have to figure out what does each employee individually need. It's not always just about the money, right? So it's like some of it is that, and you can talk to other people in other, like guys, Tampa and Orlando is the same. So if you need to talk to a rental company in Orlando, I'll put you on the phone with Kelly who owns Chic, and you guys can have a conversation about it. Like, look at local conferences, national conferences, and build relationships. No one is better at that than Ann Taylor, who owns a chair fair. This woman has contacts with every rental company in the country because she goes national and builds the relationships. So figure that out first, but also figure out outside of just the like seasonality, make it so great they don't ever want to leave you.
And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, not only what is it worth to them as your employee, what is it worth to you to keep them on that as your the employer? So it's that give and take, and there's going to be ebb and flows with season. We all know this, right? Like right now, it is hotter than Hades outside. We're not doing weddings, right? Like it's not happening. But season's going to pick up. So if you guys have that standard across the board, does anybody do budget billing with FPL? Has anybody heard of that? It's the same thing, right? Like you a couple hands. So you use your AC unit like crazy in the summer and are paying $200, or in the winter, you're not using it, you're paying $50. But if you're on that, it keeps it status quo all year long. So as far as like the monetary portion, is there a perfect number? No, not at all. But again, like what Shannon said, what plays into that too is your culture. So not only are you matching what their needs are and they're matching what your needs are, but also you're building up that positive environment for the company in general, and that all plays in together.
I'd like to add to this. So something that I did is, for me, the most important part, especially to get past that fear, was to figure out how much my company could afford to pay out. So I knew what the number was, like, here's where my zone is. When I went to hire people, I asked them, how much would you love to make? Tell me, how much money would you love to make? And after they gave me that answer, I said, how much is it going to take for you to walk out of the door in the job you're in? That number is always lower. It is always, and then you know where their spot is. They've handed it right to you. So that was one thing that I'm so glad now that I did. If you have no clue, like there's some things you're just not going to be able to find the answer to. And I think that's a great way to do it. Don't get me wrong, and now I know to do that. Thank you, Shannon. But if you really don't feel like there's someone you can reach out to or relationships that you don't have to get those answers, that's at least somewhere, that you can start so you have an idea of where you need to be and where they have to be but want to be. You find the good spot there. Yeah? Okay.
Hey, Kelly.
Got one more?
Alan
Okay.
has a
Oh,
comment.
and we have Dylan up here. I promised him.
Okay.
It's just real quick. I've had 4 VAs. I've paid people by the hour. I pay people by the task. I only pay by the task now. There's a great book called Why Work Sucks, and it talks about a results-only work environment. If you don't need somebody to be somewhere at a particular time, you just need to get something done, pay them for the results that they do. What's it worth to you? What's it to them? This is actually a college student, and she was looking for an internship, and I said, how much are you looking for? She said, minimum wage. I said, I don't pay minimum wage. I've worked for minimum wage. I don't pay minimum wage. I said, this is what I'm willing to pay for the results. She was ecstatic. This month, I felt she did more work. I said, when you send me the invoice, add $50 on. You deserve it. I've also sent her movie tickets, and I've sent her Starbucks gift cards and things because she went above and beyond or she did something faster or better. So you take care of them. It's not about how much they're getting paid. It's about how they feel valued. And when she said minimum wage, I was like, oh, no. Yeah. No, I don't pay that. I don't pay minimum on anything because I don't want people to pay me minimum.
Right.
That's culture, right? Like what Shannon said. That's valuing people.
Jordan, Dylan up here, up front.
I'll add to that too. I mean, when I started my VA business, a lot of the VAs in the world are hourly, but what are you truly getting for that? And then you're penalizing them when they are faster at social media, or they finally figure out your perfect timeline and they can knock it out way faster than where they started. Now they aren't getting as much. Whereas if it's project-based or task-based, they're getting that reward. They're excited to be working for you. Maybe they just love your personality and hopping on Zoom calls every other week with you, and that's worth it to them. So I would definitely suggest looking on both sides if you're looking for part-time work. Yes, look at the hourly or figure out the package rate, what that would be hourly, but also what's it worth for them to just know you, know your business, know how to do the tasks, and you don't have to worry how long it took them.
Dylan?
Hello, me again. So those last 2 questions actually set perfectly for my question, which is, so you have employees that have been working with you, seeing the growth, and you guys are starting to see an exponential growth in the company. At what point do you say, I've had this much growth, my employee deserves a raise? Or on the other fact, how do you have that conversation when your employee approaches you and says, I really think I deserve a raise? How do you have that conversation with them, and how do you look at, I guess, percentage-wise of growth that you can afford to do that?
I don't ever let them come to me and ask for money.
Literally was my
I get in front of it before them. So we do quarterly alignment meetings where we meet every single quarter. We talk about, are they meeting their KPIs, which are key performance indicators, like very specific. For you to be executing your job correctly, you need to be achieving these things. We review the next quarter's KPIs. If they do that, they get a raise. And I don't bonus always like sales stuff, but I bonus in like gifts and things like that. So my admin just took a girls trip with all her college friends. I Venmoed her $150 and said cocktails on me one night. I mean, she'll never leave me, because I do shit like that. And she would rather have that than there be a specific bonus structure tied to sales to do. So I think that you have to look at exactly what you're saying. How much can you afford, but also how much does it cost if they leave you? And when I look at, I know it's 5% and whatever, but if I look at $1 an hour, right, and just looking at that number for my hourly staff members, I'm like, Kate works 15 hours a week. It's $60 a month difference for me to give her $1 an hour raise, and we're killing it right now. So I don't ever let them wait. I schedule reviews. We have quarterly meetings. No one ever has to ask me for money. I bring up the conversation because it's the worst to be because when they ask for $5 an hour raises. So if I can get in front of it and control the conversation and make sure they feel like it's fair and taken care of is the best way to do it, because if you wait on the other side, you'll lose every time.
Same. I do assessments every year. So at the end of the year, I look where we've been for the year, what the projections are for the next year, and have always bumped every single year before anyone even has the opportunity to ask, whether it's hourly, hourly, what have you, just to make sure that they know that I appreciate the job that they're doing, so I'm taking that initiative to make sure that they know that first and foremost before they even ever have to ask. And again, it might be $1 an hour, it might be $5, it might be a cap of whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's the fact that, you know, as the employer, as the boss, as whatever, you're putting that effort in for them because they're putting that effort in for you.
Yeah, because isn't even that, but like, so I have a VA, right? I mean, she's been with me for 7 years at this point. But like, I sit down, review. She never has to ask me for more money. Could you imagine if every one of your clients were like, "You're doing so well, Sophie. Let me just pay you an extra $50 a month."
And if they're coming to you and having that conversation, one, it's probably taken them a long time to work up the nerve to have that conversation because we know, we've all been there, it's super awkward and it makes you all clammy and you don't know how to bring it up. If they are to that point where they actually worked through the fear, they brought it up to you, they probably already have one shoe out the door, or they probably already feel undervalued and every single task is just chipping away at them. So if you can stay ahead of it, they're looking. If you can stay ahead of it, and it can be in small increments, it can be in surprise and delight things. Maybe you can't afford to bring them up every quarter, every year, but if you're adding that value, just like they said, how much more are you going to spend when they up and quit on you and you have to retrain from the beginning someone to do all the tasks they were doing?
Ladies, thank you so much. I think you gave so much value today and eased some fears. I want to bring something up. We lost one of our dear members this summer, Kat, which I think everyone here, for the most part, knew her, and we loved her very much. I want to tell you, this panel today happened because of Kat. She came to Swell and asked for this specific panel to happen. So, you know, we all loved and adored her, but I want you to take that with you and go, you know, I would like to learn about this, that, or the other. Go to Brittany and Jordan, and they will make things like this happen for you. We want Swell to be great, and we want it to be so that you can learn the things that you need and want to learn about.